Someone had told me there's this cult, and they'll make anything possible in your life.
I was deeply convinced that we were going to save the world.
It was a transcendent experience.
You feel euphoric.
Everything you do for endless trillions of years depends on what you do with and in Scientology.
Scientology is a religion based on removing trauma and clearing one's mind. This is the most recent religion to develop within the past century, and it was founded in 1950 by L. Ron Hubbard, a very mentally ill man. In 1954, the first Church of Scientology opened in Los Angeles, while today there are up to 10,000 churches, missions, and groups operating in 167 countries, with 4.4 million more people signing up every year.
Scientologists believe each person is an immortal being, a force that believers call a thetan. To join, members must submit the journey to find the sources of their trauma, also called auditing, which they have to pay for. To begin this process, they use an e-meter, which is used to measure the body's electric flow as an auditor asks multiple questions to reveal their sources of trauma. During their therapy sessions, they get rid of the bad memories, which they call engrams, and they believe cause trauma.
Members must sign a 1 billion-year contract and promise to return and serve in their next life. The management of the church is called the Sea Org, run by David Miscavige. This central government was created in 1967, and their motto is Revenemus.
Similar to Christianity, their symbol is a cross, but theirs is slightly different. Their cross has 4 diagonal rays between the horizontal and vertical arms. There are 8 points of the cross, where each point symbolizes one of the 8 factors. 1. The self. 2. Creativity, sex, and procreation, which is family. 3. Groups. 4. Humankind. 5. All life forms. 6. Physical universe. 7. Spirituality. 8. God, infinity, or the supreme being. Whereas the Sea Org has its own symbol, a star in the middle of 2 leaves, which represents the Galactic Confederacy.
Scientology puts on a mask for the outside world to try and convince people to become members. This is an example of a commercial for Scientology shown during the 2017 Super Bowl.
There are words to the step we take. Words for the joy and the sorrow. But through all of life's journey, there is no language adequate to describe the ultimate heights you can attain. Your full potential.
It is clear that the creation of this religion had good intentions, and there are many aspects that seem wonderful and could be extremely beneficial to promoting self-help. However, this is the only side of the religion you see. Underneath, there is a plethora of issues regarding the church and the way they conduct it. Although Scientology itself promotes positive ideals about mankind, the initial impression is solely a facade to the corruption of the church. First of all, the leaders of the church put in inhumane punishment centers for the defiance of Scientology principles. In the early 2000s, a detention center was created at the headquarters in California known as The Hole. The center punished well-respected individuals who displeased Miscavige. According to one source,
for more than a year, I slept on the floor and I was fed slop, and I was in a building that had bars on the doors and windows. I wasn't allowed out, and I was supposed to sit around in there and circle jerk myself into a new state of existence where now I'm suddenly acceptable to Miscavige because I've confessed to, whatever heinous things satisfied his prurient sense of right and wrong. It is like the lunatic asylum. It's like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Because the leaders have too much power over their members, they can not only torture them, but they can threaten them into doing dirty work. The Scientologists planted members in the IRS, FBI, and AMA in 1978. While they were there, they stole thousands of documents that would incriminate the government because the government had been accusing Scientology of horrible acts. It was one of the largest spy missions within the U.S., and it was called Operation Snow White. Operation Snow White has not been the only time Scientologists have done something involving criminal behavior. The FBI has been investigating the Church of Scientology since December of 2009 for charges of human trafficking and child abuse within the Sea Org at the Gold Base in California. An ex-member, who identifies as Jane Doe, filed a lawsuit against Scientology. She escaped from the church by hiding in the trunk of a non-Scientologist actor's car. She was supposed to be working on a promotional video with the actor, but he ended up helping her escape. She had been a member for 11 to 12 years before being thrown in the hole for knowing too much about Miss Cavage's personal life. She filed the lawsuit for the leaders alleging retaliation, child abuse, human trafficking, and forced labor against her and other members who have left. Along with the many other problems with Scientology, the worst pertains to the main leader of this cult, David Miscavige. This man has been accused of beating his aides and humiliating staff members. Leah Remini, a former member of the church, came out with a documentary on A&E entitled Leah Remini, Scientology and the Aftermath, exposing the truths of the religion. The issues of Miscavige's actions were a major point of controversy. Her documentary utilizes information from former high-ranked people in the organization who individually hold key stories about secret teachings, shady business deals, and abuse of followers, former members, and their families. Remini's documentary exposes one incident about Miscavige that is truly upsetting. Jeff Hawkins, a man in charge of marketing the church, wrote a book exposing a time when Hawkins had written an infomercial that was disliked by Miscavige. Solely because the infomercial was not to Miscavige's liking, Hawkins was accused of crimes against the church and then was physically assaulted. Hawkins says, "I was scratched up, my shirt was ripped off, everybody else in the room was sitting watching."
These reasons are simply just a peek into the true dangers behind Scientology. Overall, Scientology is truly a cult with corrupt leaders, creating robots of people. This so-called religion thrives on the abuse and manipulation of its followers. It would be nowhere without it. With all of the criminal behavior exposing Scientology today, it is becoming harder and harder to induct others into the religion, which is a positive in the eyes of the public. It is quite easy to fall under the facade of something that sounds so positive. But with the spread of the true knowledge of Scientology, we can prevent even more corruption. Who knows? If Scientology isn't stopped, could it take over the world? Could religion be rewritten? Could we have a world of traumaless people like promised? Or could we just all be brainwashed into believing we are immortal beings? The world may never know.